So about less than halfway down the paper, this paper is 24 inches. So about about 6 to 7 inches down, I'll put my horizon line in. So I'm just going to do it right in the middle. Now I'm going to place this all the way across. Now here's the thing. I'm going to create an extension off to the side with some scrap paper. And you have an option to do that. You guys can see that on my demonstration over here. You can see that little extra sheet of paper. So one of the reasons why we don't just get a larger sheet of paper is we don't need it that often. We don't need to create an extension that often. But if you want to, you can do this. I think there's 2 other people in class that decided to do it. And I'll explain why this is, this can be very important. And I'm sure there's people in class that wish they would have done it. Okay, so I'm also going to find the middle. You don't have to measure it. You can eyeball it if you want to. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered on your paper. And I'm going to drop a vertical line straight down. And this is for my distance line. So let me see if I can, okay, I'm gonna have to fix this real quick. I move the camera down a little bit so you guys can see. Hopefully it's straight. So right down here, I'm gonna place my station point. And we've talked about the station point before, but I'm doing it past the edge of my paper. Now please understand, when you guys are when you guys have to indicate your station point on this structured approach, it's not part of the drawing, it's just a tool. It's a tool that we use. So in order to find out where the station point is, you can certainly measure it if you want to. It's not terribly important to measure it, because if you've placed this horizon line at a certain distance away from the top of the paper, it can make an impact in your drawing. So I think that'll work. So with this, if I drop this down and I create the distance from the horizon line to the station point, if I do it around 13.5 inches, or even 14, it gives me a very large, it will give me a very large cone of vision. So with my 45-degree triangle, if I draw a 45-degree line all the way up to the horizon line, that will give me my diagonal vanishing point and my station point. So this is my diagonal vanishing point. I'll do this in blue pencil so you guys can see. Killing me. There. DVP and SP. I do label these because I hate forgetting. And of course, this is my center of vision and my vanishing point. Let's see where the cone of vision is so you guys can see how much bigger it can be. In fact, with this, I might even go a little bit lower. I don't think it's going to be that much bigger if I do that. So if I make this 14 inches, which is all the way down here, that can make a dramatic impact on my drawing. I know it just moved a smidgen, but that smidgen works. I would rather have a greater distance for my station point and my diagonal vanishing point, because it'll give me a better drawing. All right, let's see how big this is. So from my station point, I'm going to use my 45-90 triangle. I'm sorry, my 30-60-90 triangle. I'm going to put my 30-degree angle down here because we need 60 degrees here. I mean, I could do this, but it will not be even. I could put 60 degrees here, but again, it will not be even. So if I do this, this will work better. I'm keeping this line very, very light, so you can see where it ends up here on the horizon line. So if I draw a 30-degree angle up here and I do the opposite over here, you can actually see how wide the cone of vision is. So this is the width of my cone of vision here and here. So I know you guys can barely see this 30-degree angle, but that's kind of the point. This is not a part of the drawing, it's just part of the structure. And this 30-degree line just gives us a guideline, so it lets us know how large our cone of vision is here. Okay, because that makes a big difference. If I had kept my station point here, that would be where my cone of vision is here on the right. I'm sorry, on the left and on the right, which is not that big. And when you put the big sheet of paper down, when you put the tracing paper down, you want to make sure your cone of vision is quite large. All right, so I'm going to get my compass and draw out that circle. I should have done like this the entire time. I know I was killing myself with doing it the other way. Okay. Okay, so let's see how big this cone of vision is on the paper. Okay, so this is how big the cone of vision is. It's quite big. So now with this, I'm going to get my sheet of tracing paper. I'm going to center my tracing paper. You can see this cone of vision is actually bigger than the previous one I had. And so I'm going to more or less center this. And then put my tape down. So I'm going to make a 6-inch square. I'm only going to measure the bottom part of it. Now, if you kind of look to see where 6 inches is, it's about, you can see where it is here. You don't have to center it perfectly. So I'm just going to initially make a line like this. It's quite long. And after that, I can figure out where 6 inches is. I do not like placing it directly in the middle, because it looks a little bit odd when everything is totally symmetrical. So I'm going to mark off 0. That's where we start. And then 6. Now this is going to represent the bottom of my square. I'm going to extend a line up. It doesn't matter how long the line is. You do not have to measure this. You just have to measure this so you can create your square, or at least you can create your 45-degree angle, and then finish the square like we're used to doing, like that. So with this, I'm also going to be erasing along the way. Let me bring this up higher like how I had it before. There we go. Now we can zoom in a little bit. And you won't see my big head. So I will be erasing along the way. Once you get your square down, you don't need this 45-degree angle. Once you have that square down, you can certainly erase it. Because this is more or less it's not necessarily going to be a finished drawing, but it's going to give us a good foundation for us to do our final drawing. Okay, so with this, we're going to extend lines to the vanishing point. Okay, so you'll notice where my vanishing point is. What I didn't do was this, and some of you have done this, and I want you to stop. Don't do this. Some of you have done that. Okay, so you're not in high school. Don't do it. You're not in beginning drawing anymore. Don't do it. And the reason why is this. If I tell you to draw lines converging to the vanishing point, and your vanishing point is 1/8 of an inch wide, or 1/8 of an inch in diameter, that's a pretty big margin. A big margin for error. So please, just keep your point nice and dainty. You don't have to make a big dot. You know where it is. Okay. So if that is you, erase it. Erase it, fix it, and you'll notice that when you draw your lines to the vanishing point, you can actually get it right where you need it to be. Now, even these lines aren't going to stay. Some of these lines will be erased because we need to make a cube out of this. And in order to make a cube out of this, we can use the station point or we can use the diagonal vanishing point. So I'm going to use the diagonal vanishing point first. And I'm going to take this point and draw a line all the way to the furthest corner. It doesn't matter if you do the bottom plane or the upper plane. It doesn't matter where you start. So again, I'm going to keep this line very, very light, but I will make it a little bit darker here. So this gives me the depth of my lower plane. Now you could use the station point. And you've heard me talk to a few people. They've asked me why I use the station point over the diagonal vanishing point or vice versa. And it just depends on how big these planes are. If it's a big plane, usually I'm going to use it. I'm going to use one over the other. So if I decided to use the station point, I'm going to take the station point and draw a line all the way here to this upper left-hand corner or upper right-hand corner. And you'll notice that it'll actually line up with this 2. Now, do you have to do both? No, you only have to do one. But what I'm saying is the diagonal vanishing point will help you find the depth of any cube, just like a station point will. But the station point gives you the depth of the cube on any vertical plane. And the same thing, or on the opposite realm, with all horizontal planes, the diagonal vanishing point will help you with those. So, do you have to use both? Again, no, you only have to use one. And once you get that cube, you can actually erase these guidelines if you want to. I am actually going to erase these converging lines because I don't need them anymore. You can keep yours in. Some people keep theirs in and erase everything after, but this is a pretty big drawing, so I would rather erase stuff along the way and keep it relatively clean. Something this light is not going to bother me that much, so I'll just leave that one. Actually, I think I will erase it. So I'm not going to finalize this cube by placing a dark line around it or around the object lines or 4 object lines because it's going to be altered dramatically. Okay, so this is just a single cube. It's a box, but it has 4 square planes. Now if you're wondering if this inner square is a square, is a true square, all you need to do is just take your triangle and line up. You'll see it'll line up from corner to corner with a 45-degree angle. All right, so now with this, it's best to create a grid on this whole thing. And this is really, really easy to do. Again, you can see how light these lines are. So this is already 6 inches, and we're going to create 1-inch units on the bottom. Be really precise. There's a few people that were wondering why their cubes were off. It's because some people did a 5-inch, they did 5 inches here. They actually measured the whole thing. They did 5 inches or 6 inches here, and then they measured this and they did 5 inches. So they didn't actually make a square, they actually started with a rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys a trick. This is actually for everybody. Now, yesterday we also put marks all the way across here. Do you guys remember that? Okay. You don't actually have to. You could, but you don't have to. So let me show you. So I have these 1-inch units. Now remember, this grid that I'm making is only to help us have like very consistent squares to start with that we can create cubes from. That way we're not all over the place in drawing 1/2-inch cubes and 2-inch cubes. We're all making like starting with 1-inch cubes and projecting out from it. Now here's the trick. You don't have to place this all the way across. I mean, you don't have to put units all the way down. I know some people want to measure everything and think the whole world is going to work better with measurements. But if you just use math, it makes it a lot easier. 45-degree angle. Draw a very light line. I mean, it might already be there from when you did it. Now, wherever this line crosses here, 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 and here, these lines going all the way up, 1-inch units, that will give you 1-inch units all the way across, like this. These are also 1-inch units. Now, why are they 1-inch units? Because if you look really close, you'll notice that they are square. We have a 45-degree line going from corner to corner. I know some of you are like, well, that's just another line that we have to erase. Well, yeah, probably, but at least you know that it's accurate and you don't have to worry about your measurements being off. If you just measure once and extend that 45-degree line from corner to corner, you don't have to worry if you don't know how to use a ruler. You can just do that. So, so that's one of the easiest ways to make a grid. Now, should I erase this? Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't have to, but for the sake of argument, I will. So I can still see my grid, and that's all that's important. So again, you'll notice that I didn't make my grid dark. I'm sorry, I didn't make my my square very dark because it's going to change. Things are going to change with it. So with this, I'm going to extract a cube from, I'll do it from this corner. Since I already have lines converging to the vanishing point, and I'm going to zoom in. Now remember, this is a cube. We've done a lot of these already. So I already have the dimensions of this square that I'm going to use. Okay, so the width and height are identical. This is my horizon line. And my vanishing point. So you'll find me doing this quite often, and I will do this probably throughout this demo. I'm not going to draw lines all the way to the vanishing point. You guys are smart. You guys already know I'm already drawing lines to the vanishing point anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna do that, and I'll do this. I'll do a little bit, but you already know that I'm lining it up with the vanishing point. So I'll do just enough to draw the cube. Now, what I'm really doing is drawing the cavity. I'm drawing the cavity that the cube is going to extend from. I can actually extend these lines out if I want to as well, and I think some of you have already started to do that when you started making the cavity. Now, these trajectory lines or converging lines are necessary in the drawing because this will help you place your cube later on that's actually exploding from it. All right, so I have lines converging to the vanishing point. Now I have to make this a cube because a cube is going to be exploding from it. And I'm noticing that this line is not accurate, so I'm going to fix it. Some of you that are using mechanical pencils have already ran into the issue that your mechanical pencil can also get dull and can kind of throw you off. So anytime you need to sharpen your mechanical pencil, just break the tip off to get a sharper tip. All right, so I've created the depth here. This will help me get my square. This is lining up with the diagonal vanishing point. Now I'm going to bring this down and get the depth of that cube. That will be a cavity. So now I'm going to keep these I'm going to keep the construction lines in, or the ghost lines, for something else a little bit later. Now, it's not something extra. This is just something that will actually help me in my drawing a little bit later down the line. But I will take the time and erase these. I won't really need these right now. And since this is already a cube, I don't need this. So I can erase that. All right, so I have my cavity. Now I need to draw the cube exploding from it. So I'm going to start off with, I have these lines, you know, these trajectory lines. So I think I'll do this. Now, I always start off with the back wall. You can start off with the front if you want, but I have a hard time gauging the depth, and if I do this, it'll help me make something a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So I have this connecting these two lines. Okay, so now I'll extend to here, and I'll do the same thing here. Now, theoretically, if I connect these two, it should connect with a horizontal line, and they do. If you want to make sure this is absolutely a square, you can use your 45-degree triangle and see if it connects the two when this is lined up with your when it's aligned with the straight edge. Okay, and it is. So now I have a foundation for this cube that's going to be exploding from it. So now I can draw the cube. Now, I realize when I draw the cube, or when we learn to draw the cube, rather, we didn't start off with the back wall. We always started with the front. You use whatever you need. you should start with whatever you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable with drawing the back wall first and projecting out from it, then that's perfectly fine. If you want to start out, if you want this to be the front and you project back, you can do that too. The reason why I don't do that is because I can't always gauge this distance to make it look the way I want it to look. I actually want it to overlap the bottom of this cube, so it looks better. And I like a lot of distance. So with this, I'm going to get my diagonal vanishing point. I'm going to draw a line from here all the way to the diagonal vanishing point that gives me a depth. I'll make this one a little bit darker so you guys can see. Okay, so that gives me a proper depth. This is the bottom plane. Okay, so there's a bottom plane. Now I can extend lines up to here and here, and then finish my cube. Okay, so there's my cube exploding from this one. So I'll erase some of this busyness in here so you guys can see something that's a little bit more final. And I will at least make this darker. I'll make my object lines darker. Okay, so there's my exploding cube. I'm not going to darken the object lines here yet. Actually, I'll do this one. I'll do the front of the cavity. Actually, I'll do the whole cavity. But I will keep the construction lines in the back, or let's say the ghost lines. Okay, so I'm going to keep it like this. Now, the reason why I want this, I want to keep these, is because this will give me information later on. So I can draw one over here. So let me explain. I'm going to draw a cube exploding from this area here. So I'm going to use these dimensions. Draw lines projecting from the vanishing point from all four corners. I'm not going to draw lines all the way to the vanishing point because it'll keep me from erasing too much. Now, can you do that? Can you extend lines all the way to here? Yes, you can. You can certainly do that if you want to. And I will actually extend them out a little bit further because I will be projecting a cube from this cavity. The reason why I didn't do it on Tuesday is because a lot of you are learning this for the first time and it can be very confusing. Okay, so with this, so I want you guys to look at this, what I have right now. I have this square. I'm creating a cube from it. I need to create a cavity for this. Do I need to use a diagonal vanishing point to create this cube? To create the cavity? What do you guys think? Do I need to use a diagonal vanishing point? Do I need to use a station point? What? One or the other? The answer is no to both. I don't have to use any of them. Now, why? Why is that? How come at this point in the drawing, why do I have the option to not use the station point or the diagonal vanishing point to create this cube? Yeah, there you go. Because the other cube has a depth, I can transfer this information all the way to here to create the depth of that cube, if I want to. If I want to. Now, should you do that? It's up to you. I mean, you can do that. So if I take this depth, I can bring this all the way to here if I want. I can do that. But I can also use the diagonal vanishing point too. So you're going to find that a lot of the things that I talk to you about when I show you guys these like solutions to these problems, you're going to find that there's multiple solutions for the same problem. The problem solving is the same. And it's up to you to decide what process you want to use. The outcome will be the same. Generally, it'll be the same. So again, I can use the depth of this one to create the cube for this one. And it'll also illustrate where things go off. So this one's going off a little bit. Okay, so there's my cavity. Okay, so now it's up to me to decide how far this cube is going to explode from this cavity. So let me think. There's a lot of space down here, so I think I will actually use this one as a guide. Let me see. Yeah, I can do that. I think I can do that. For some reason it's going off, and I'm not sure why it's going off yet, but we'll find out. Oh, that's why. Okay, maybe I won't use it. I'll just start from here and see where I wind up. Oh, that's why. So I don't know if this is going to be outside of the cone of vision. Hopefully it won't, but we'll find out. Okay, so I have this cube here. Let's make or I have the square here. Let's make sure it's a square. It is a square. So I'm going to use a station point on this side. Okay, that'll be nice and big. Cool. Okay, so for whatever reason, this is going off. So now I need to double check this. There it is. Alright, so there's my cube. Let's erase all of this busyness. So I do have a tangent here. I didn't do it on purpose, but it is what it is. So in the end, you'll erase lines that are not necessary to see. So what's not necessary to see are lines converging all the way to the vanishing point. Any guidelines like this, they don't need to be seen in the final drawing. Little areas like that have to be cleaned up. So we will have a 6-inch cube that has 1-inch cubes exploding from it.
9 of them, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, 9. Yeah, you'll have 9 cubes exploding from this one. So you guys kind of have it made. One of my friends had this class in their undergraduate. They had to draw a 10-inch cube. And guess how many cubes they had to have exploding from it? 100. 100 cubes exploding from it. And they had to show all of it. All of it. So not just that it's, man, it was a 10-inch cube, 10 by 10. They had to show 10 of them. And they had to explain, it had notes all over it, like where it was ridiculous. Ultimately, the instructor got called on being a slave driver, and he actually had to change his curriculum because it turned out that this was during this was first semester illustration students, and some of them were ready to pack it up and go home because they couldn't actually finish their painting work, their figure drawing work in the other classes. I mean, they had like 4 other classes that couldn't get their work done. So, allow me to draw another one. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to draw the cavity, and I'm going to draw the cube separately. So, let's see. I will draw a cavity. Oh, you know what? I'll draw one from here. Here. No, I'll do this one. Okay, so I'm going to start off with this. I'll make this a little bit darker so you guys can see. So remember the reason why we draw the entire cavity, why we draw all of these? All the inside, even though in the end we won't see it, we do it so we can draw others. It can make it a lot easier if we already have this information down. So I'm starting off with a square. Is it a square? It's a square. All right, so I'm going to draw lines converging to the vanishing point. I will actually connect these to the vanishing point for you. So it's not, I know some of you are still getting used to seeing things in 3D. And I understand that some of you are used to copying a photograph or copying a still life in order to do a drawing. In perspective drawing, we don't do that at all. Well, we do somewhat, but we're not copying a photograph in order to execute a drawing. We're using rules of perspective to do a drawing. All right, so I have to make a square, I have to make a cube out of this, right? So who can tell me what I do next? And I will do it, if it's correct. I have to make a cube out of this, so who can tell me what I do? Hey, yes. Perfect, but I already have a depth. Yes. Okay, so which one do I, okay, that's a good answer. To one of the furthest corners, yes. Yeah, or I can use the station point, yes. So I could use the diagonal vanishing point, which is over here, to the furthest corner of this square, but there's 2 of them. So I can't use these because they're close to the diagonal vanishing point. Carter said I could use a station point too. I could use a station point to the furthest corner. I can't use these, but I could use this one or this one. Okay, so I could use the station point and I can do that. But I think I might use the diagonal vanishing point because this is kind of a fat plane up here. And it gives me a little bit more meat I can see. So this will connect to the diagonal vanishing point. As this line crosses this line converging to the vanishing point, that is the depth of that plane. Just like the previous drawing that we did. Okay, awesome. Well, you guys gave me some good information. And now I can finish the cube. Okay, so there's my cube. Now, this is a cavity. It's a cavity. So I'm going to erase some of these lines because I don't really need these lines anymore. I don't need these lines converging to the vanishing point because I drew my cube, so I'm going to erase them. I know some of you need these, and you might want to just keep them. I don't need them. So I'm going to erase them to help avoid some of the confusion with it. And I need to draw this line back in again, so I will do that. There. Okay. Now, here's the cavity, and now I'm going to pull, well, it's not a cavity yet, but I'm going to pretend that I'm pulling this cube out from it. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to draw converging lines that kind of work as like action lines or trajectory lines that are projecting from the vanishing point. And this gives me a guide to draw the projecting cube. Okay.
So those vanishing points come from the top wall, or the points that
These, no, they're actually come from the vanishing point, period.
But you're connecting them to the back wall, the back panel, or
Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys possibly a dumb question. You could give me a dumb answer. Is this vanishing point in the cube? Is it inside the cube? This big one? Where is it? Now, Pooh said here, this. What's that? Where? How far is this? Really far into space, like infinity, right? We have no idea where it is. We can see where it is, but it's not necessarily a measurable distance. Okay, good. Now, I asked you guys a dumb question. It's not necessarily a dumb answer, but it's true. I mean, it goes. We don't know how far it goes, and it's not important. I've had students that thought that this was like literally the back wall inside the cube. Not here, but in other classes. So I just had to, you know, put on your thinking caps. All right, so I want to draw the bottom. I want to draw the bottom plane. So at least I'm thinking about drawing the bottom plane. So I have to use these two lines that make up the bottom plane here of this cavity. So I think I might do it about here. Yeah, that can work. Okay. So can you guys see that? You can see these lines converging to the vanishing point. This is the very back edge of the cube. This is the very back edge of the cube. And I'm going to use this. I'm going to connect these lines up here, here, and here. Okay, now they didn't meet. Why didn't they meet? Can anybody see? Let's bring it up and bring it in a little bit closer. How come these two didn't meet? What's wrong with it? It's right there. Why didn't it meet? What's wrong with it? I drew it kind of crappy. Yes. Yeah, it's kind of janky, right? But even this one's kind of janky. Okay, so that one's a little bit less janky. But look where it is. I kind of haphazardly drew it. It's actually right here. So it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, but it is if I'm trying to draw a cube. Because if I'm not drawing a square, then I can't draw a cube. So that's one of the things that we really have to wrap our head around when we're drawing these. All right, so let's see how big this cube is if I were to draw it. I don't know if I'm going to project out or project in. Actually, I think I'll project out. So I'm going to use the diagonal vanishing point. Okay, and let's back up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I'm looking at the diagonal vanishing point. I don't have a furthest corner, but I have that I can use. Okay, I think that can work. So I have this lined up with the diagonal vanishing point way over here on the right. All right, so it crossed right here. So that is the depth of my plane. So do you guys notice what I'm doing too? How come I shouldn't draw a line from here? Why do you think I'm not drawing a line from here, but I'm drawing a line from here on the straight edge? Anyone know? So I can see. All right, so I'll give you guys a really great example. So if you do it from here, look at my line. It's not even close to where it needs to be because I can't actually see it. But if I do it here, I can see my line. Have you guys noticed when you guys were watching me do my demo, you see my noggin getting away? Yeah. Because I'm doing this and I'm trying to see the line. I think sometimes I should shave my head like Key and not even worry about my melon getting in the way. All right, so there's my there it is. Okay, so there's my cube. And let's erase this. So I'm going to erase everything I don't need. And is that it? Oh, yeah. I think that's it. Okay. So now I'm going to get my blue pencil and tidy it up. You'll see me do this over and over again where I will do a lot of my vertical lines all at the same time. Just makes it a little bit easier. Doesn't always make it easier, but there we go. Okay, so your homework this weekend is to work on this. Now, because I bumped it, spend quality time on it, get a really good drawing. Okay, so there's my exploding cube. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna put another one here, right next to it. Just to create a little bit of interest with it. Or not next to it, but I'm gonna explode this corner out. Oh, actually, with that one, yeah, I will do it. Might as well. I'm going to do this one so you guys can see some, not something necessarily advanced, but something that's a little bit more complex. And it will certainly add some visual interest too. So I'm not going to draw lines convergent all the way. Well, they're convergent to the vanishing point, but I'm not going to draw them all the way to the vanishing point. Okay, so with this one, I think I'll use my station point for it. There you go. So there's the depth of that plane. All right, so as I'm doing this, let me show you what I'm thinking of. Because I drew this cavity, I'm actually going to draw what it actually looks like too. So you guys can see. So this is what the cavity actually looks like. I haven't drawn the exploding cube from it yet, but that's what it should, this is what it should look like. this is the only part of this cube, or this cavity, that you will see. So one of the reasons why I'm doing this one is because it's going to look really cool when I have another cube exploding from it. Even though this one is exploding from down below, this will be pretty neat to see this. Let me get rid of some of this busyness in here too. There we go. Okay. It's always neat to see drawings where you, like this, where you have overlapping forms. Okay, this one isn't going to be as far as this one isn't going to explode as far as the other one, the one next to it. But I have to make sure I'm drawing this to the right one. Okay, there we go. That works. Okay, so here's the back of my cube. There's a cavity. I'm going to have it explode from there. And I think I'll use the diagonal vanishing point again because I have a nice fat plane here that I can use. I could either use this one or this one, doesn't matter, they'll both work. Some of you actually feel comfortable using both, and I mean, you can actually use both at the same time if you want to. So I can do it here, and I can also do it here too. Okay, and so there's my exploding cube. Let me erase some of this I don't need. I'll still need all the some of the information, so I'll add it back in with the red pencil. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to use my blue pencil and finalize this area. Okay, so I'm gonna try to publish this video before Saturday, or by the end of Saturday, by the end of the day Saturday. My goal is to have this published so you guys can follow it if as you need to. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And let me see. I'll do something. I haven't done anything in the middle yet. I think I'll do this one. Now, technically, I didn't have to draw all the way to that. I didn't have to draw lines converging to the vanishing point all the way because I already have these dimensions in here on this lower one that I can use for the depth. Now, if you're more comfortable using the station point or the diagonal vanishing point, you can certainly do that. The reason why I don't want to use the diagonal vanishing point here is because it's too small. And even this, quite frankly, is very, very small for me to use. But if I had to use my station point, I can certainly do that, and it winds up exactly in the same spot. All right, so here's my here's the cavity. And again, with this one, I will do it in blue so you guys can see it. Okay, so these are these lines converging to the vanishing point, but you know, trajectory lines. I'm going to put this one way out here. We see how big we can make this one. Okay, so this is the back of, yeah, I think this one's going to be the back of the cube. Now, these lines are so acute, it's going to be really hard for me to figure out where this edge is. So I'm going to use what I know. I know it's a square. And I already have the left side, the bottom, and the top. I don't know how long to make the top or the bottom. So I can use a 45-degree angle because I know it's a square. And there it is. All right, so let's see how big this would be if I were to use the diagonal vanishing point, or the station point. Okay, I think I'll do that. Okay, so this is the back. This one's gonna be quite big. So I'm gonna use these lines here and here to figure out how big this cube is going to be. So I'm just going to fine tune that. There we go. All right, so let me erase what I don't need. Now, as far as the finished drawing, what should we see? We should see the main cube. We should see all 9 cavities and all 9 exploding cubes from it, and the action lines connecting the cube to the actual cavity. Oh, and the horizon line. As far as a horizon line is concerned, people prefer to do this for the horizon line. Most students usually do this, and it's preference, whatever you want to do. If you want to literally put it through the drawing, you can. But students usually start to do that where only it's visible. They will only place where it would possibly be visible. They're not going to put it through the drawing itself. So this is actually right here. This is not actually a line going through it. That's underneath on the other sheet of paper. So what you're going to show besides the 19 cubes, the one big cube and the all 9 cavities and all 9 exploding cubes, is these lines converging to the actual cavity. All ghost lines and construction lines will be missing in the main cube itself. So these cubes will actually be transparent. So it makes it nice and neat, and it makes it less confusing. And it certainly helps you understand how to see things in a three-dimensional way. And certainly when you're done with the drawing, you'll know how to draw cubes. That's one big exploding cube. So all of these lines in here, these are not object lines. They're ghost lines. These are all ghost lines. These are certainly ghost lines in here.